This is a Joy-Con. It's got a lot of functions. You can press buttons to do certain actions, you can move the joystick to control the character, you can not move the joystick to control the character, it has gyro and motion controls, HD rumble which lets the rumble be more immersive, and of course the IR sensor. Who could forget this little thing? Nintendo can. I can. I'm pretty sure you did. The IR sensor has to be one of the most underutilized gimmicks that's built onto the controller for any one of their consoles. Aside from the one where you could like play with 2 Wii U's on a Wii U, I don't think a single game used that. Anyway, the IR sensor. This thing kind of acts like a camera of sorts. It can see the distance that it's from an object and recognize what kind of objects they are, like certain hand gestures and stuff like that. The Switch has been out for 5, close to 6 years now, and so far, at least according to my research of like one Google search, there are only 11 games that use the IR sensor to any capacity, and only half of those games are actually made by Nintendo. That begs the question, why even include it in the first place? Seems like it would really do nothing but increase the price of the controller for no good reason. Did they have more plans for this behind the scenes that just never came into fruition? Maybe. Well, since we're talking about it, it'd be weird if I wasn't talking about it. Imagine clicking a video about the IR sensor, but all I talk about is just the functions of like the liver or something. Let's go ahead and look at some games that use the IR sensor. And let's get the niche ones out of the way first. The ones that only really use it for like one small thing that's not even really worth it in the first place. Ring Fit Adventure. Out of all the games on the list, this one was the only one that I actually owned, at least before making this video. After doing a stage, you can check your heartbeat with the IR sensor, and that's it. I have to say I'm pretty impressed with how accurately it's reading the heart rate. I don't even really know how it's doing that. 1-2 Switch. For being Nintendo's launch title, it's amazing how easily forgotten this one was, especially since it was supposed to show like what the Switch, specifically the Joy-Cons, was all about. Of course, because of this premise, one of the mini games used the IR sensor. It's the one where you eat a sandwich. The thing detects whether or not your disgusting foul mouth is open and registers as a bite within the game. And that's the only one out of 28 minigames. This thing was $60 at launch. Resident Evil Revelations. You can reload the weapons by covering the sensor. It basically just acts as an extra button, but instead of like pressing, you just cover it with your fat thumb. Ninjala, I remember this game. You can use the IR sensor to unlock cosmetics for some reason. I literally have nothing else to say about that. Okay, so those are all kind of the novel uses out of the way. The rest of the games use the IR sensor in a little more depth than just an extra button. Did the Joy-Con not have enough of those? These games aren't that complex. Game Builder Garage. It's a game where you basically can just create games, as the name suggests. You're not an idiot, you can figure it out. And the IR sensor is included in the things you can use. You can use it in a variety of ways. This guy here used it for like a security system. That's pretty cool. You can probably do other things like make a race where the first person who passes the Joy-Con wins. That'd be cool. Just simple things. Smile Basic 4 is basically similar to Game Builder Garage, where it's a program you can make games, except like way more complicated. This includes the IR sensor for your game, so that's cool. Pretty much the same as Game Builder Garage though. Brain Training for Switch also uses it for some of its games, mostly just limited to just reaction time, like trying to quickly match the gesture on the screen. This game hasn't been released in the US for some reason. Released in Europe, but not here. I guess it's revenge for the last entry taking 5 years to release over there compared to here. After that, we have Spy Alarm and Night Vision. They're both shovelware games, so they aren't too interesting. Night Vision is literally just that, night vision, nothing more, no game modes or anything. $10 please. Spy Alarm is basically just an intruder alarm. You can set up the Joy-Con as a camera, and if it detects something, then it'll have the switch sound an alarm. So you can use this to have your home always protected with your own game console until the battery on the Joy-Con dies. $10 please. Alright, the last game that uses it is Vitamin Connection, a game made by WayForward, and it's pretty cute. Now, unlike the other games, I actually went out of my way to purchase this one because, for one, I couldn't for the life of me figure out what the IR sensor was on this for. They listed it, saying something about like being able to measure the distance on mazes, but I have no idea what that means. And there's no other article or video talking about it, at least as far as I know, so I actually had to buy the game myself to figure it out. Thankfully, it was a game that was like actually good, so out of all the games I'm forced to buy, I'm glad it was this one. I'd be hard pressed to spend the same amount on these hunks of junk. So I sat down and I played it, and I still couldn't figure it out. Nothing in the game seemed to use the IR sensor. Am I being lied to? Would somebody do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies? Well, after that, I did one more search on the net, and I actually found the reason for it on WayForward's website. I should have figured as much. I then discovered it wasn't working because it only works in 2-player mode. You cover the sensor to extend the claw. I went through all that, and it was basically just like Resident Evil, where it's like a pseudo button press. Oh well. Nintendo Labo. It's a game that requires a lot of cardboard to play.
I'm having so much fun right now.
It's the game, or games, that use the IR sensor the most extensively, and it's probably the main reason why it was included to begin with. There are plenty of things you can build that use the function, like the piano. The sensor can tell which keys are being pressed. And then there's this one where you control this little thing and you can use the camera to tell where you're going. The Toy-Con house uses it by looking at differently shaped blocks you insert and telling the game what to do depending on where you inserted it. It's pretty cool, actually. The Toy-Con motorbike can make stages based on what the camera sees, informing the terrain around it. And you just know that someone made a track by scanning their, dick or something. The entirety of the third Toy-Con kit with the vehicles uses the IR sensor in a similar way to the Toy-Con house, where it's able to see what parts you pull and turn and registers the appropriate action in the game. It's the kit that definitely uses the IR sensor in the most depth out of any of the other games or just anything really. These would just not work without the IR sensor. I'm pretty convinced that the Nintendo Labo sets were probably the whole reason why Nintendo added the IR sensor to begin with, since it's absolutely required for this. Unfortunately, as cool as Labo was, it wasn't the biggest success and was dropped after the VR kit, leaving the IR sensor to kind of lose its relevancy entirely. So now it's just kind of there. Who knows though, maybe one day Nintendo or even another company might come out with a brand new product that utilizes the IR sensor in ways we couldn't even imagine before, making this little thing relevant once again. Yeah, that's never gonna happen. Like trying to quickly match the, like trying to quickly match the gesture on the screen. Jesus Christ.